celebratory little dance because I'm so excited you are on the final video in this free video training series, video 3. Thank you so much if you have watched video 1 and 2 and have done the work, because I know that you have made a lot of progress in the past, in the few days, a little bit of time that we've been together, because it may seem really simple what I've been teaching you, but it's totally emotional and it really gets at you. But this is really great work. So before we keep going, if you haven't watched video 1 or 2 yet, or you skipped that work, I'm going to encourage you. I can't force you, but I'm going to encourage you to shut this off right now and go and do the work, because I don't want you to skip any of it, because it's that important. And I wish I had someone telling me to do this right now when I was doing it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten my ass whipped last year in business. So I am teaching you my mistakes. And this is what video 3 is all about. How to talk like I'm talking to you now. Because when I first started, I'd be so scared to talk to you like I'm talking to my bestie or my buddy or like someone I just met, because I am super bubbly and awkward, and this is how I talk to people. But this is conversational, and people feel comfortable around this type of dialogue. So video number 3, this video now, final installment, I want to teach you how to convert your lead to your clients. Yes, it can happen in, I said one conversation, and I'm going to teach you how it's one conversation. It's a very long one though, but it's still one, with a string of the right words as well. For those of you who've been following along, I'm Diane Pauly, your client conversationalist, and I love stories and words. That's why I'm one part branding strategist and one part copywriter, because I love to mush the two together. Anyway, let's get chatting. So, the hardest thing that we have a problem with is communicating. And this is really personal to me. Voice has defined my life for a very long time, and it's why I teach what I teach. And why people say I do it well, it's not because it's a practice skill, it's a learned skill. I was verbally abused for quite a long time growing up, and I'm not sharing this for you to feel bad. I've been able to heal from it, but I'm sharing this. I want to teach you how to share as well, like this, to teach you a lesson that I learned from it, because my voice was suppressed. So for the longest time, I thought, I was a goody two-shoes. I was a suck-up. I was a kiss-ass in school. So I was like, I'm going to go for that smart career. I'm going to be a lawyer. And I'm going to be a voice for the underdog. And then I realized that shit is not for me. So I didn't go to law school. I started my own business instead. And, the business model that failed, if you've been watching the previous 2 videos, it failed because I wasn't doing what the sum of my whole life was. It was around voice. I was avoiding that topic. Maybe because I wasn't ready to share it. Maybe because I wasn't aligned completely. But that's what happens. If you've done the work in the previous 2 videos, you're going to start getting aligned, and you might see a theme in your story of what you can actually teach your ideal client, because it's what you've been through. It's not just what you're passionate about and what you think you can make money at. It's so personal. And when you're in alignment like this, abundance totally flows into your life. The money comes, and you're not even trying. It just happens, and you attract the right types of clients to your business, ideal clients. So when I start talking about voice, everything changed. And that's what I want to teach you now, because it's so important. And a lot of times we trip ourselves up because we think, well, I can't talk to somebody online like I do in person. It's screen to screen. All I have is my words, and I'm not a writer, and you talk to them. Well, you can always do video, but I want to teach you that you do have the words. And the idea that I just shared now to you, a little bit of my story with the voice idea, is to give you an example of what I mean. The reason I shared that is to teach you my lesson that I learned, so that you can hopefully learn from my mistake. And this whole philosophy and this whole concept, basically everything I'm teaching you, stems from this idea around vulnerability that I have, and I love Brene Brown. If any of you have seen her TED Talk on vulnerability, I call it strategic vulnerability. And this is that long conversation you want to have with your client. So I'm going to break this down for you and explain it simply. And tune in your heart, because it's more heart thinking than head thinking, and that's totally okay. It's part heart, vulnerability, part logic, strategic. So if you remember, video 1, we talked about your client is you and meeting them where they are. So let's sum that up. Let's put it all together, put all the pieces together now. That means they're at point A. they're in pain. And you can feel that pain because you were in that pain once upon a time as well. Video 2, we talked about, now they're looking at you as helping them get out of that. Maybe you're that personal trainer. You're that person who has that success story, and they're looking at you and saying, help me too, You don't need to do anything more. I see your story. You're out of the bad spot that I'm in. Take me there too. So you're at point B. So simple. Client A, your lead, your potential client is at point A, and you are at point B. And then in video 2, I asked you to write out your storyline, and this is how it's going to come into play now. Because from point A to point B, there's a lot of ticks in this timeline, right? Little things that you did to get from point A to point B, because you didn't fast forward that in a few days. That might have taken a few months, maybe even a few years, and that's okay. But I want you to think about the big steps that you took to get there. Was it reading affirmations? Was it indulging in self-care? Was it investing in a lot of business courses? Whatever it was, those little steps matter now, because that's what strategic vulnerability is about. It's about talking to your client in a way that they understand by sharing your story. And it's all about telling them what they want to hear. And what they want to hear is the result. They're vulnerable. So they don't want to know the how, they don't want to know the number of calls, they don't want to know the this, that, and what of, how you run your business. They want to know, can you meet me where I am at point A, and can you get me to point B, the light at the end of the tunnel, the result, the transformation. And then, along the way, you can introduce them to the little steps, the little ticks on your storyline. And that's how it's strategic, because you're being vulnerable, you're sharing your story with them, but you're doing it in a way like I did. You're not sharing from these gasping, gaping wounds, where you're saying, oh, I'm still going through this, I don't know if I can help you. You're only sharing things that you're healed from, and that you can say, hey, this is my shit. I went through this, I made a mistake, but the only reason I'm telling you this now is so you can learn from it. Because that totally applies. Because what are we making? We're making a personality-based brand and a service-based business here. And that is powerful, because that combination right there, my friend, can leave you a lasting legacy behind. So when it comes to meeting them where they are online and converting them to a potential client, it's all about how you treat them. And I break this down kind of funny, but it works. Now, I want you to think about, if you're single, this is okay. And if you're married, you might have a better grasp on this, which is totally okay. But I want you to think about, being taken out on dates, and all ladies like to be wooed. And, maybe you're not going to want to pay on the first date. Sure, you'll reach for that wallet, but you're not going to pay. You're going to want him to pay. And then little by little, you'll start to trust him. And maybe later on, in the courting and the wooing, I'm going old school on this, not modern day dating, you'll want to contribute as well. And then maybe down the road, he'll pop that question and you'll be like, yes, I'll move in with you. No, maybe you'll marry him. Who knows? But this whole process is about, that idea of someone wooing you is what you have to bring to the table in your business. You have to woo your client. Kind of now we're in the pants in this situation. And your freebie, your opt-in offer, all that stuff that you give them, all the free content that you put out there, every single post you write, every tweet you send, every Instagram picture you post with the hashtags, every email you send, everything you put out there that's possible communication with your client, you have to think of them in every instance and woo them. That's why I had you write a letter in the first video, because you need to put them first. You have to think of them as the one person you're writing to. Even if you're writing to 10 of your ideal clients at the same time, focus on one of them and write to them and make it specific and make them feel special. Because if they don't feel special, they're going to hop off your site, they're going to hop off your post, they're going to hop off this, that, and that. So make them feel special, make them feel wooed. And if you build a good, honest-to-God relationship with them over time, trust will be established. And then when you pop that question, will you work with me? They will say, oh my God, yes. And most of the time, we're in modern day times, they may ask you first. And a lot of times that's what happens. Building business this way, I know it's funny, but it's true, builds long-lasting relationships and long-term clients. And that's the type of business model I want for you. So when it comes to, hanging out on social media, because that's where you might find most of your potential leads, you put a post out there, but speaking as if you were talking to that client. Woo them, give them something special. Don't be afraid to over deliver. And, show off what you're good at. Give your gifts, like share your talents. And then once they hop onto your website, that's where it starts to get more intimate. Teach them something in your blog post that you write. Not just write a letter to them anymore, but really give them steps to take to start getting mini transformations in your life. And then when it comes to private groups or communities that you establish, Facebook groups you create, or even your email newsletter, make them really feel like you're putting their name into that letter manually and you're not just putting a merge tag in. Yes, I know how it works. That's why I don't do that anymore, because sometimes the merge tag fails and their name doesn't go in there. And I want to make everyone feel special, and that's how you should make them feel too. So every piece of correspondence you put out there, this is what turns them from lead to client. It's you putting in that effort to woo them and make them feel special, and talk to them like they're your bestie. Don't worry about fucking grammar. See, I'm swearing now. When I get comfortable, I swear, and I'm comfortable with you by this point. Don't worry about, punctuations, misspelled. Do things that you would do them as you're texting. And I am a stickler. Remember I was Miss Goody Two Shoes in school? I made sure my essays were on point. But, we learned in school not to write like how we talk. I'm telling you to unlearn all of that. You want to write to your client as you talk to a friend, as you talk to me, as I'm talking to you. You don't want to make it sound clinical. You don't want to make it sound foreign. You don't want to talk all about you. Think every time that you write something, think as if you're sitting down with me, at a coffee shop and we're just having coffee, shooting the breeze. That's how I want you to think every time you write to your ideal client. And I guarantee doing that, you will turn them from lead to client. It may take a little bit of time because, somebody doesn't say yes to sleeping with you or moving in with you or marrying you right away. But they eventually do if that trust and commitment and credibility is established. And if you share your story, and if you be vulnerable, and if you be strategic about it, this will happen time and time again. And you will have a business that lasts, where you won't be hunting down clients, but they will be attracted to you like a fly is to, not fire, skin, sweet skin. I don't know. I'm getting silly here. But anyway, you want to be that flame, that moth. That's what it is, a moth. You want to be the flame that a moth is attracted to. And this will happen when you're in the zone and when you're aligned and when you're telling your story to that person who's there in your past saying, I need someone like you. They will hold your hand and they will be with you for the rest of it. And you will change someone's life. And I cannot stress enough how amazing that is and how wonderful that is. So what I want you to do now is I want you to take everything that we've talked about, everything that we've chatted about, and I want to encourage you to think about that first step you're going to take to change your communication around. So if it's, I'm going to post a vulnerable post, I'm going to write a letter to my ideal client and send it out in a newsletter, I'm going to write a vulnerable blog post, I'm going to speak to someone personally in my Facebook post, whatever it is, I want you to take that action step now. And I want to hold you accountable because I don't want you to just say it and not do it. I want to make sure that you're committed to this. So what I'd love for you to do, you've got my email, this video is in the newsletter, so I want you to reply to me in this email and tell me the action step you're going to take, and I'm going to hold you accountable. And then the last thing I ask you is, if you haven't already, I'd love for you to be a part of, and I invite you to come on in and join my little gang over on Facebook. We're called The Branding Movement, and there's a lot of really inspiring, vulnerable, badass women entrepreneurs in there. And we talk vulnerability, we get emotional, but we are real, and it's a really great space. So I'd love for you to even write out what this post will be, tell it to me, and if you want to take even the next step, I suggest that you go and post it in that group, because that would be the bomb and awesome. And I'm getting all sappy now, so I'm going to end this. But thank you all so much for watching this free video training series on how to have an ideal client conversation. And I hope you took away a lot of information. And I'd love to keep this conversation going because, hey, I'm sappy for relationships. So I'm here if you need me. I've got links all around everywhere. If you ever want to have a one-to-one chat, I'm here. And you can find me and everything I'm up to at dianepauley.com. So thank you so much, and I'm really proud of you for making it this far. I will talk to you soon. XO.